All right, what's going on? Trade Albert here, Don, VendettaSportsMedia.com. Today, this is the last video I have to record other than the Matthew Berry challenge, which, by the way, so fucking funny that guy actually quit doing his love-hate column because of me. Anyway, got your OnlyFans list of receivers today. Again, if you're new here, this is the diamonds in the rough. These are the guys that are going to win you your league. These are the guys that deserve way more love. They're being ranked too low, and you'll end up basically being the best beneficiary because of it. So got a big list here. I don't want to get too carried away because I feel like I could talk for 5 hours on all of these players. So I'm going to try to dive through it as best I can so that you're locked in the whole time and get all the information that you need without me writing a book through my mouth. So first, again, these first three or so, first two or three, maybe they don't count, but they should. And I believe that they belong on this list because I don't think people get it. So let's go over that now. And that is Marvin Harrison Jr., who is my wide receiver 5. As a rookie, 62 receptions, 885 yards, 8 touchdowns, 14.3 yards per catch. To me, that's fucking pretty good. I don't really like, he didn't go out there and like fucking slit people's throats, but that's a really nice performance as a rookie. Show me a lot of other receivers who did that as rookies. So just where he's being ranked. Again, if I'm doing fantasy drafts, sorry, I had that mixed up. I have him as wide receiver 4. I have him behind Chase, Jefferson, Lamb, and I have Harrison right here. So he's got 16 on Barry's list, which I guess isn't outrageous, but 15 on Fantasy Sharks and 12. Okay, that these guys kind of get it. Ooh, I didn't know that. Okay, holy fuck. Okay, maybe he's not qualified for an OnlyFans. We'll have to get there later. Okay, so just as a rookie, he finished as wide receiver 26. I mean, that's good. Like, just because he didn't go nuclear as a rookie doesn't mean we should freak out. Like, I think he's creeped up in recent weeks. I've seen lists where he's not even in the top 20. So the club fantasy guys who are like, I think I saw one of their lists earlier where he wasn't, like maybe a few months ago, where he wasn't even inside the top 20. That's ridiculous. I have him at wide receiver 4. I think he's going to go absolutely banana land this year. By the way, he showed up jacked as hell, which is a great sign. Again, I've used this comparison for the cheese list. I'll use it again. You're going to look back 10 years from now. You're going to realize that Malik Neighbors was the equivalent of the Odell Beckham, where he got off to a crazy fucking start. He's obviously talented, but he lacks self-awareness. And because he lacks self-awareness, long-term, his stock's going to go like this. Now, you'll get something out of Malik Neighbors. I'm not telling you he's going to suck. I've never been on that side. Like, there's no question he'll get his 5th-year option picked up. Like, that's not my argument. My argument is, long-term, you're going to look at Harrison and you're going to say, wow, he just puts up 1,000 yards in his fucking sleep every single year, and he's as consistent as it gets. He's 6'3". He's packed on a ton of muscle. He was by far the best college wide receiver prospect I've seen in like 15, 20 years. He is Calvin Johnson. Calvin Johnson as a rookie didn't have great numbers either. And then in year 2, Calvin Johnson went, woo! So don't be the asshole that fades Marvin Harrison. Just don't do that. Next, Rashee Rice. Now, I understand he's going to get suspended, right? I understand all of that stuff. We don't really know what's going on there. But this dude was out of his fucking mind last year. And I just think he's worth the risk, whether he gets suspended, whether he's coming back from injury, all that stuff. So let's just like talk about what Rashee Rice did last year. By the way, it was only a handful of games. I get that. Plays in 4 games, which it really was only like 3.5 games because he got hurt in that Chargers game. 288 yards, 2 touchdowns. So he would have been on pace for like 14 fucking touchdowns. Let's just go look at his game logs last year. 9 targets, 7 receptions, 103 yards. 6 targets, 5 receptions, 75 yards, touchdown. 14 targets, 12 receptions, 110 yards, touchdown. And then he that one counts as a game, but he had 4 offensive snaps. So really, he played 3 games. So in reality, he played 3 games and put up this. And as a rookie, he did that. And right now, you can have him for a fraction of the cost that it should. 32, that's a joke. 36, that's stupid. Why are you doing that? 50! Dude, these people are fucking so stupid. Are you fucking serious? Are you fucking serious with this? Look, the bottom line here with Rice is that he can be a top 5, 10 wide receiver. And if he's not out there certain weeks, who cares? Like, again, we're trying to win the league. This is about the Ricky Bobby approach. Like, if he's going to actually be valued that way, that's so stupid. Like so stupid. The numbers that he was putting up in those games, it's like, why wouldn't you take the risk? Why wouldn't you take the risk? He should be ranked inside the top. I would argue he should be ranked inside the top 15, regardless if he's suspended or not. Dude, who cares? Like, unless you're playing in like an 18-team league where you're worried that you're going to be eliminated because you don't win certain weeks while he's suspended, that's crazy. Like, it doesn't even make any sense. My thing about it is, we already know when he's out there, Mahomes is going to target him. He's going to be a big focal point in the offense. Travis Kelce's getting older. He's clearly the number 1 target on his team. If you want to count Worthy, okay, so he's either the first or second target on his team, and you're going to rank him wide receiver 50. You people are cracked out. Next is Jameson Williams, which maybe I have to reevaluate if he even belongs in this list, given that the fantasy footballers who have no clue what they're doing. Yeah, so next year when we do these lists, we're not using this fantasy footballers. I'm going to have to adjust accordingly on that. Wide receiver 6 is bananas. Wide receiver 18, wide receiver 26. I think that's probably where he belongs. So maybe he's not even an OnlyFans list. I guess let me recalibrate the conversation to say this. If you play in a best ball league, I love going to get Jameson Williams because he's going to make the big plays. It seems like now is the time when he turned the corner. Look, I get wanting him. So that's why I guess I want to talk about him. I get wanting him. I understand why you want him to be on your team. He's definitely much better in best ball compared to Dino ball. But yeah, I didn't realize that he's like being ranked wide receiver 6 on some people. That's fucking okay. Next. So last year we were fading Jalen Waddle. This year we're back in. So last year was wide receiver 48. And again, we had 0 shares of Waddle last year because I was very worried about him. Mostly because I knew that Jonnu Smith was going to be eating a lot of his work, which is why now I like him again. So Jonnu Smith is gone. They have Waller. They don't really have a real tight end. Well, Waller's a real tight end. He's just... And now it looks like Tyreek Hill has finally started to come down. Like, Tyreek Hill has finally started showing signs of decline. So if him and Waddle are basically neck and neck in terms of talent, in terms of the moment in time right now, if him and Hill are neck and neck, we got to obviously... Tua being on the field means everything. He's like, if Tua's hurt, get rid of your Waddle stock. But as long as Tua's out there, Waddle should be back. And if him and Hill are basically on the same level talent-wise in this current moment of time, then he's worth it. Wide receiver 31, 27. I think 27 is a lot better. 29. So again, there's a lot of receivers in that group. I'm simply saying that, like, if Waddle continues to slide, there's no reason why he isn't getting a ton of targets this year, especially because, like, so Jonnu Smith is gone, but not only is Jonnu Smith gone, so is an injury to Achane. So right now, Achane seems a little banged up. He's clearly going to be involved in the pass game too. I just think at the end of the day, to really boil this down, buy low, sell high. Let's buy the dip. Let's buy the dip on Waddle because he's not going to be as bad as he was last year. Next, George Pickens. Buy it all the way in. Now, if you go watch the Matthew Berry challenge from last year, I said we have to learn our lesson on this. If Pickens is still in Pittsburgh, it's not going to work. But if he goes somewhere else, let's buy back in. Well, now's the time to buy back in. Again, last year wasn't a great year for Pittsburgh. Last year, wide receiver 41. That's not acceptable. So where is he being ranked this year? 22. That's actually reasonable. That's actually very reasonable. 24, and 24. So I guess you're not going to get a ton of bang for your buck considering that Lamb's going to be the number 1 and Pickens is clearly the number 2, but Pickens is going to be a fucking dangerous number 2. He's been lighting it up in practice. Here's what you need to understand about Pickens. And I know a lot of people don't understand this because they're not wired this way, but Trey kind of is. So when the chips are down and Pickens feels like he's got to prove himself, he's going to come through. He's playing for money right now. This is the last year of his rookie contract. If he don't perform and he's labeled as a knucklehead who doesn't perform, he's not going to make a lot of money. If you double team CeeDee Lamb and you're going one-on-one with your second best corner and Pickens down the field, he's going to win. So not only is Lamb drawing away a lot of attention, not only do we have a locked-in Pickens, not only do we have the best quarterback that Pickens has ever played with. So, like, let's just go look at his stats because really, he's never had a quarterback. He's had Mitch Trubisky, he's had Kenny Pickett, he's had Russell Wilson, he's had Justin Fields. He's never had an actual real quarterback. Last year at 900 yards, 3 touchdowns. 2023 at 1,140, 18 yards a catch, 5 touchdowns. 800 yards, 4 touchdowns. So he's doing that with 0 quarterback. And by the way, he only played 14 games and still put up 900 yards with no quarterback. So if he's putting up those kind of numbers, and now he has Dak Prescott, and now he has CeeDee Lamb drawing away attention from him, and now he's motivated and playing for money, he could be a top 10 receiver. Next, Teteroa McMillan. So wide receiver 20 is a little high. I don't know if that counts as OnlyFans. Ooh, wide receiver 20. 23. So I guess this is an honorable mention at this point because I didn't expect him to be the rank that high. I just think he's clearly going to be Bryce Young's number 1 target. He clearly has an ability to snag balls out of the air. He's a very, very good hands catcher. He was the first receiver picked in the draft for a reason. He's ready to play. He always puts up production. I would just simply say, like, if you're nervous because he's in Carolina, I wouldn't be so nervous. So that's kind of where I stand on that. We'll keep this next one short just because, like, there's no reason to go over where he finished last year. He was a rookie. Odunze is going to go like this. He was overdrafted in terms of where I thought he should have gone in the draft. Like, he shouldn't have went ahead of Bowers. Poles is a dumb fuck, but he's still a really nice player. And eventually he's going to be the Bears' number 1. So I said this in the Cheese video. I think Odunze is going to be the number 1 target in the Bears. I think he'll pass DJ Moore. And right now, if he passes DJ Moore, he's a screaming value. So Barry's got him 34. It's too low. Fantasy Sharks got him 34. Too low. These fucking dopehead dummies got him at 31. Too low. He's the Bears' best receiver. If he wasn't, like, I'm not saying he was last year, but again, we're looking at snapshots and moment of time. What do we project the year forward? Again, the cheat code that you have to use with your brain. Where do I think these fucking idiots will rank Odunze in 2026? Like, I have to imagine in my mind, where will these idiots rank Odunze in 2026? That's the correct answer for this year. In the snapshot and moment of time, I think Odunze will be higher than wide receiver 34 on everybody's list, which means he's a value this year. And by the way, I think the Bears offense is going to take a huge step forward because it should. So if that happens, you're in the money. Next, let's just talk about Chris Godwin because clearly he's not healthy, but that's fine. So last year, Godwin finished as 50. So he only played 7 games. That's why. In points per game, he was basically a top 5 receiver. So we just go to this year, 57. Who's this idiot? Andy. He's the same asshole that ranked Jameson Williams 6. Okay, this Andy dude, he's Riri. Don't ever listen to a single fucking word this guy says. How are you going to rank him 57? You're going to put Quentin Johnston ahead of him. 51. 48. Okay, so, like, here's my question for you, and I guess this depends on what league you're in. Why wouldn't you just stash him? Why would anybody care if he doesn't play until October? That's what I really want to know. Like, why would I care? I'm getting because he was like a top 5-10 receiver last year in fantasy. And if the Bucs offense stays remotely the same, he's a screaming value. By the way, if the Bucs were like nervous that he was like permanently injured, They don't re-sign him to that contract. Did anybody see the contract they gave him? I guess I'll pull that up because I don't think people get it. Did anybody see the contract that he got? By the way, New England was prepared to give him even more money. So he took a discount. Keep that in mind. He took a discount to stay with the Bucs. By the way, he's 29, so he's not like young either. Let's really boil it down and think about this. Okay, so he's 29, coming off a major injury, and this is the contract the Bucs just gave him. Just gave him this money in free agency. Just gave him a new deal. Just gave him a new deal. If they cut him right now, it's $62 million in dead money. So they gave him a 3-year deal for $66 million, and you're gonna rank him wide receiver 800. Okay. All right. Sure. Okay. All right. Next, Cooper Kupp. Let's buy in. Wide receiver 45. What? 55. 47. That's really what we're doing here? You think he's done? Because that's if you're ranking him that low, you think he's done. I don't think he's done. Look, the injury stuff is obviously concerned. He hasn't proven to be healthy. Understand all of that. But we don't think he's got one more. By the way, in 12 games last year, he posted 710 yards and 6 touchdowns. If he simply does that, he's going to beat his ranking. My question is, are we sure he can't hit? Are we sure that he can't be like a fucking dynamite player? I'm not saying he's going to finish as a top 10 receiver. I'm simply trying to explain this. What happens if he has one more good year? What happens if he's rejuvenated by being home? What happens if he's on the fucking ultimate revenge tour? Because that happens to some of these guys, to where they get that wake-up call. Oh my God, the Rams just cut me after everything I did for them? And now I'm going to a division rival and going to back home in the state of Washington? And he's clearly going to be a starter? And he gets Sam Darnold, who threw for 35 touchdowns last year. Wide receiver 50? He could finish in the top 20. He could. And even if he doesn't, he's sure as fuck worth the flyer. Okay. All right, next. Jacoby Myers. He's the number 1 receiver on the Raiders. I don't know why we're not treating him that way. So let's just go back here. So last year, he posted 1,027 yards, 4 touchdowns, which isn't anything insane. But he still had 129 targets. And it's not like he's done. He's still in his prime, age 29 season coming up here. So if we go to his ranking, 33 is actually kind of reasonable. Might be a tick low, but it's kind of reasonable. 40, okay. 38's too low. So if we go back to fantasy finishes just last year, he finished as 29. So let's really recalibrate this, right? Last year he finishes as wide receiver 29. He's still the number 1 target in the offense. By the way, he wasn't the number 1 target for a good chunk of the year. At the start of the year, they had Devontae Adams, who was the number 1 target in the offense. Now, he is the number 1 target in the offense for a full season. Again, Brock Bowers is the number 1 target. I'm talking the number 1 receiver. Brock Bowers was still there last year, though. So he's the number 1 receiver in the offense, which wasn't the case for the full season last year. They now have a real play caller in Chip Kelly, who is an upgrade over the fucking dog shit they had last year. And so is like not having Antonio Pierce nonsense. I understand that Pierce wasn't the play caller, but they have a real offense coordinator now. They also have, I'm not a Geno Smith fan, but he's an upgrade over Minshew and O'Connell. So the play caller, stock up. The quarterback, stock up. The situation, still basically the same, except maybe even a touch better. And nobody wants him. Okay. This one, we don't have to go too in depth on this one. This is a perfect buy the dip. We know who Deebo Samuel is. Again, he's like Kupp in the sense that he's not always reliable in the health department. Totally understand that. But every time you fade him, he comes back in a big way. So I guess we can go over like the Deebo Samuel, who, by the way, he's now in a contract year. He gets traded to a new situation. He should have some fresh energy about him. And I think he's looked pretty good in the preseason from what I've seen. Had a nice jet sweep the other night, or last week, or 2 weeks ago, whatever that was, in that Monday night Bengals game. So again, this guy's probably not coming back, but I think you could get maybe an upgraded version of what this season was, because that age 29, he shouldn't be done. So my guess where I would have Deebo projected is, why can't he be around, let's say, 950 yards and 7 scores, and then pick up some receiving work too, or rushing work too? So again, here's the craziest part. He picked up 12 touchdowns that year, got a couple in the ground game, got even more in the receiving game. He's probably not going to be used as like a pure running back, but he'll get running touches. So I love that flyer. And by the way, what happens if McLaurin doesn't show up? Because right now he's still not showing up. 37, too low. 32, 42. That's ridiculous. 42, so is that. If McLaurin doesn't show up, and now he's now playing for another contract, and now he's in a Washington situation where clearly they just gave up a draft pick to trade for him. He's going to be involved. They just traded Brian Robinson. He's like the number one target. Do people understand that? He's the number one target on a Jaden Daniels offense where they just won a fuck ton of games and made a deep playoff run, and nobody wants him. Okay. All right. Sure. If you say so. Next, Chris Olave. This is another one. We're looking at snapshots in moment of time. Where will these idiots rank fucking Chris Olave in 2026? It's going to be a lot higher than where it is right now. I'll tell you that. Last year, it was a year from hell. It was a total year from hell. So he opens up his career. 1,000 yards. 1,000 yards. 400 yards. Gets hurt. I think a lot of people just have like injury PTSD on this one. I guess that's what we'll call it. He's being ranked as wide receiver 38 by Barry. That's stupid. So stupid. 38. Where these idiots have him. 36. Dumb. Completely dumb. So again, there's no point in bothering where he finished last year. It was a year from hell. He got hurt. He only played 8 games. Let's just go back to the previous year. So 2023, he finishes as wide receiver 24. That's probably where he should be ranked, which means he's a screaming value. So I understand not being in on the Saints situation. I totally get that. I totally get not being in on the Saints situation. The quarterback situation is a mess, but here's something that should offset it in your mind. Tyler Shuck should be ready to play. Whatever he is this year, he's already 25, 26. So this isn't some rookie who's not ready. If he's not ready now, he's never going to be ready. So I think you're not going to be blown away by what Shuck gives you, but I think you might be pleasantly surprised in the sense that, hey, he at least gets the ball to the guys, whether he makes 1,000 mistakes or not. He's at least getting the ball and has the requisite arm talent and isn't like Bambi out there and not ready. So you got that going for you. Next, and maybe people disagree with me on this, that's fine. I think the Saints offensive line is totally and completely upgraded. Cesar Ruiz, they got McCoy still in the middle, but it's not even about that. They drafted Fuaga last year. Then they take Kelvin Banks this year. So they actually have 2 foundational tackles to where like they actually might have time to throw these balls that Olave needs, which wasn't the case last year. Last year, the Saints started out hot. Their offensive line crumbled, then they fell apart. If those offensive linemen are simply healthy, which we're not going to try to predict that, but it's certainly a variable that could lean your way. If those linemen are simply healthy, Olave should have the time to get the targets that he needs. And if those things happen, he should finish in a wide receiver 24 range. By the way, let me mention 2 more factors. Plays in a dome. So for some of the fantasy football playoffs where like, hey, maybe you have DK Metcalf, but the fantasy playoffs are in Pittsburgh and it's snowing and they can't throw the ball. Well, that's not going to be a problem with Olave because they play in a dome. So he's got dome on his side in terms of limiting the weather. And they're going to have a dome game in Atlanta. So that's another dome game. So a lot of dome games for Olave. Check. That's great. They also just hired Kellen Moore on a team that probably won't have a good defense. Kellen Moore is a former quarterback. Kellen Moore just spent the last year with the Philadelphia Eagles being forced to run the ball more than he wants to. He's going to air it out. You've been warned. Next, I guess nobody learned their lesson on Jordan Addison, huh? Last year was like a top 10 receiver, but nobody wants to talk about that, I guess. All right, so here's Jordan Addison, wide receiver 18, and on a points per game basis because he missed a couple. He's way higher, and he scored a fuck ton of touchdowns. He scored 9 touchdowns. Finished ahead of T. Higgins. Where's he being ranked? This is comical. This one is fucking comical. I understand that he's suspended. I get it. But it's 3. It's literally 3 games. It's not anything outrageous. 3 games. So, 46. What the fuck are you people doing? 37. What the fuck are you people doing? Seriously, what the fuck are you people doing? 43. What a clown show. So in 15 games, by the way, he started the year hurt. Okay, so if we just pick up here in week 4, this is when he starts going nuts. And by the way, he didn't do anything the last year or the last week of the season. So if we just compile this data right here, he's like literally a top 10 fantasy wide receiver and nobody wants him. We do get that this is the younger, like in his prime Ridley, right? We do understand that, right? Okay. Well, like, why can someone explain to me why he's even being ranked that low? It can't be because of the suspension. It can't be. It's 3 games. So by week 4, he's out there. It can't be because of the suspension. Are you nervous about McCarthy? Are you nervous that Jefferson's just the guy? Like, it doesn't even make any fucking sense. He was literally a top 10 wide receiver last year, and nobody wants him. Okay, next. This is another like year 2 receiver we're buying the climb on, and that's Keon Coleman. I understand that last year wasn't great, but I again, you can fact check me on this. I told you he wasn't gonna be ready last year. Like that shouldn't have been the surprise. So last year he didn't have a great year. Wide receiver 59. Obviously that's fucking horrible, right? So where is he being ranked this year? 51, 41. 41's a lot better. 51, too low. You're all too low. You do get that there's a real chance that he's the number 1 target on the Bills, right? So why does nobody want him? I don't understand that. Okay, so here's my question. So he's 6'4", and last year was his age 21 season. He wasn't ready. He was an early declare. He posted 556 yards and 4 touchdowns, which actually isn't terrible. Like, for a guy who clearly wasn't ready to play at all, it's really not a terrible stat line. So now he enters year 2 where his body and like actual physical development is starting to kick in. He's heading into his age 22 season. He was better than Jalen Reed in college when they were on the same team in Michigan State. His quarterback is Josh Allen. He has no real competition outside of Khalil Shakir and maybe a Kincaid. And he should get a lot of touchdowns. Or at least they're going to try to get him touchdowns on a good offense. And he's being left for dead and nobody wants him. I would take him if I'm at the end of my draft, I will take him every fucking time. Ricky Pearsall in this one, this ranking seems to be climbing because they don't have anybody, and I think people have figured that out. So again, another year 2 receiver who should take a jump. 33, I think that's still too low, probably. 33, 35. I would guess that's still too low. So if we go to Pearsall, he has a chance to be a top 20 receiver. Maybe it doesn't happen, but he certainly has a chance to. Again, not impressive. 11 catches, 400 yards, and 3 touchdowns. But I think, like, maybe this fact has been, like, overlooked. But do we understand that he was shot last year? He literally got shot last year. So here's his game logs. He got shot, did not play. Then it took him a while. And then he didn't really have a stretch here, but look at how he ends the season. Just look at how he ends the season. Week 18, 6 for 69 and a score. Week 17, 8 for 141 and a score. I would guess he's a lot closer to that guy that you're going to see this year. And if that happens, he's a top 20 receiver and they have nobody else. And it seems like Brock Purdy actually really likes him in terms of wanting to throw him the ball. So again, we've been over the San Francisco situation enough. Ayuk's down. All their guys are down. He He's the number one target in this offense in terms of the receiver position. They still have Kittle, but yeah, he's a total buy. He's a total buy. Next, Marvin Mims. So I understand that he hasn't hit yet, but I think this is the year that he's gonna hit. So if we go to where he's being ranked, 59, that is stupid, completely stupid. 48, still too low. 59, laughable. Especially if you are not playing in a Dino League. If you're not playing in a Dino League, you should want him. You should really want this player. So he is absolutely a starting wide receiver right now. There's no question about it. So last year, again, we talk about snapshots and moment of time. He's coming up as a rookie, 22 receptions, 377 yards, 1 touchdown. As a sophomore, by the way, he made the Pro Bowl as a returner. This is somebody that when he gets the ball in his hands, he's totally electric and has speed on his side, real speed on his side. Last year, 39 receptions, 503 yards, 6 touchdowns. So he's climbing. Why can't he sneak in as a 1,000-yard player? I'm not really sure. And by the way, look at how he ended last year. He had some monster games. He really didn't do anything at the start of the year. This is when he really picks up down the fantasy playoffs. 105-yard performance, 20 yards, 62 yards, 103 yards, 2 scores, 51 yards, 2 scores. So he ends the season on fire. He comes into this year and is clearly locked in as the starter opposite of Courtland Sutton. We're talking about a Sean Payton offense where he's clearly developing his players. We're talking about a Bo Nix who clearly seems to be working and nobody wants him. I just listed Packers as next. So here's how I feel about the Packers situation. I would just take one of them. Again, feel free to not listen to me on who you want in terms of this department, but I would just take one of them. Dobbs, Golden, Reed, Watson, they're all borderline free. So why not just take your piece of the offense on whoever you want and then let best ball take care of the rest? How I would rank them on my internal list is Dobbs first, which he could get traded. Maybe that's false, but I don't have any feel for the Packers situation. I'm simply telling you, why not just take one for free? Because one of them's going to hit. I would probably go Dobbs, Golden, Reed, Watson. But that could be totally flipped, and who knows if Watson's even going to come back from his injury. So, and then we'll go over some more young guys, quick hitters. Dante Thornton. He's going to be the starting receiver opposite of Jacoby Myers. If you read my draft notes, you know exactly what he is. He's got one pitch. It's a 99-mile-an-hour fastball, but he's going to hit on him. And he's going to probably hit on 4 or 5 of them. And when he hits on 4 or 5 of them, he's going to be in your lineup. So if you're in a best ball league, I love taking that shot. A.D. Mitchell, I think, will start to get more and more involved in the offense. I'm still not a believer in this Colts team, obviously. But instead of him being a complete zero, I think he'll at least put up numbers. And then last but not least, the reason why Smith and Jigba's on the cheese list is because I'm actually a Torrey Horton believer. Part of the reason, not the full reason. But I think Horton's actually going to be on the field. What I'm simply saying is this idea that it's Smith and Jigba, Kupp, and nobody else, I think that's going to be false. I think Valdez-Scantling will probably get some receptions, and I think by the end of the year, you'll sit there and say, I'll tell you what, this Torrey Horton's fucking pretty good. So that's the way that I would play it. Let me know what you think. That's the OnlyFans list this year. Comments, questions, concerns, any disagreements, you know where to find me. Other than that, I hope everyone has a good fantasy season, and peace out, Girl Scout.